Some Republicans criticizing President Trump tonight over what he tried out as a new impeachment defense, claiming that the impeachment probe is similar to a, quote, lynching, top allies breaking with him.
Given the history in our country, I would not compare this to a lynching. That was an unfortunate choice of words.
That's not the language I would use.
Mr. Leader, you said it's not the language you use. Why wouldn't you use that language?
I don't agree with that language. It's pretty simple.
Lynching or mob murders are a traumatic relic of American racism. And a little context tonight. Over 3,900 black men, women, and children have been lynched through 1950, including over 100 in South Carolina. So think about that as you look at South Carolina's 2 U.S. senators today. They're both Republicans. Tim Scott, the first black senator to be elected in the southern U.S. since Reconstruction was ending in the late 1800s. The other is Lindsey Graham, who once declared Trump a, quote, race-baiting bigot in 2015, but today defended Trump's lynch comment.
What does lynching mean? As a mob grabs you, they don't give you a chance to defend yourself. This is a joke, this is a sham, and this is a political lynching.
Meanwhile, the former head of the RNC, Michael Steele, went to Twitter showing that lynching is, as he put it, and I want to warn you, this image is disturbing, a reality. He posted this documentary picture of a black man hanging from a tree, pressing Donald Trump to understand that is what an actual lynching looks like. I'm joined now by Rutgers professor Brittany Cooper. Your view of this?
I'm so deeply offended as the descendant of African Americans who were enslaved. But also what is so interesting is the way that Trump is invoking spectacular violence, the spectacular violence of lynching, as a way to argue that this is what the state is doing to him, that he is so privileged in his white masculinity that he thinks that the simple act of being held accountable for committing crimes in full view of the American public is the same thing as having your life stolen away by state actors who think that the simple color of your skin is the reason to rob you of your rights. It's completely insane and offensive, and I think we shouldn't allow him to flip the script here. Donald Trump is the violent white nationalist who has presided over the unleashing in this country of racial sentiments that we have not seen in my lifetime. We have seen an uptick in violent hate crimes since his presidency. And so the idea that he would invoke that history as a way to say that he is being victimized is something that all folks should be calling him out for. And Lindsey Graham is just absolutely ridiculous.
And I wonder if, as we look at this, there are politicians in both parties who at times have used this language.
Sure.
And I wonder if you could give us your views on whether it's also not strictly racial, because many people remember that Clarence Thomas, when he was facing credible accusations, wherever the investigation went, was criticized for what he said in this vein. Take a look.
As a black American, as far as I'm concerned, it is a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks who in any way deign to think for themselves. This is what will happen to you. You will be lynched, destroyed, caricatured by a committee of the U.S. Senate rather than hung from a tree.
You know, I'm so glad you brought up Clarence Thomas, because he, too, was ridiculous. He invoked a history of African-American men being lynched as a way to get past Anita Hill's accusations of him. And we see how he has decimated the civil rights program and legacy of this country from that perch. And I believe women when they say they have been abused. I believe Anita Hill, and I was appalled to listen to him, as I've gotten older, listen to him invoke that history. It's so deeply disturbing. And no, lynching is not a thing that only happened to African Americans, but it was certainly one of the primary ways that the state enforced its supreme power to determine African American life. And Trump is doing the same thing again. He is presiding over the terrorizing of people of color at the border. We have ICE raids on communities of color, Latinos, black immigrants. He is presiding over a campaign of state violence. And now he's trying to argue that the state holding him accountable is a form of violence. And one of the ways that Trump is most effective is that he is able to flip our media scripts and pretend to be the victim. And we should not allow him to do that, because America has yet to reckon with the blood on its hands from all of the things that it has done. This is why the left is getting so much traction with young voters of color when they talk about issues like reparations, because the left is actually having a conversation where they're trying to reckon with these histories of state violence. And Trump comes in as the sort of imposter president that he is and tries to pimp this history for his own good. And, you know, I am offended. I'm glad that some Republicans stood up to him, but there should be national outrage about this. I know that he wants an outrage campaign, but I'm interested in giving him that outrage, of serving it up to him when he deserves it.
And we turn to you on this. We didn't let it cloud out a lot of the bigger breaking news stories that are different, but we also weren't going to have it go without some comment and expertise, and you added some historical expertise that's so relevant. Professor Cooper, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.